I want to pose some thought experiments for people who believe they live on a globe. Do you believe you live on a globe, Earth? Do you believe the Earth you live upon is a globe? Do you believe in the globe, Earth? That's what I'm asking you. And if you do, I have some questions for you. Pertaining to area and the dimensions within a measured circumference. Can you draw a circumference on the surface of the Earth? Can you measure out a circumference on the surface of the Earth? Yes, you can. And the size of that circumference, well, it's up to you. But what is the largest circumference you can draw on the surface of the Earth? If you could draw, like, what is the largest circumference on Earth that you could measure out? You can measure pretty big circles on Earth. What is the biggest one you can measure? You got to ask a glober this. This is how you corner a glober. A glober who is in denial of their objective reality around them. But they don't blame them. They're perfectly decent people. They're not our enemies. They might think they're against flat Earth or something, or they think they're the enemies of flat earthers, but God bless their heart, like just let them feel that way if that's how they want to feel. Free will is a beautiful thing. But here's what I'm saying here to that. If you globers feel as though flat Earth is retarded and you think we're stupid and you're anti-flat Earth, whether it be a grift or whether it just be like a way to like showboat your ego in some fashion or another, let's try to put our egos aside. And I just want to ask some specifics. Like globers always come at us flat earthers with specifics. What is the measurements and what is the size and all these questions about Earth that we couldn't possibly know unless we had been out there mapping out the place and exploring it thoroughly. Like it's ridiculous to ask us these questions. What is it? Have you measured the Earth? Well, no, I haven't. I can see what it is. It is what it does. You have to treat it like a flat and stationary plane. So that's just as far as I need to go as far as explaining it is concerned. If I'm going to relay information to somebody about this place that I live, I'm going to say, hey, well, it's a vast plane. It might as well be infinite. It's so big. I don't know that it's infinite, but I know that it's big. I've been up in the air and I've seen for miles and you can see forever. It's a vast stationary plane. That's what we're living on. That's what we're working with. That's what we're living on. That's what we're working with. That's what it is. It is what it does, and it ain't what it cannot do. So what I'm asking you globers, you lovely globers, you fellow men and women of this earth that we live on, I'm not naming you as my enemies. I have no enemies to name. I'm asking that we work through this together because it's silly to believe something that isn't true, as well as it's silly to harp on people that are only trying to find the truth. And here's what I have to say about that. If you believe you live on a globe, tell me, what is the biggest circumference you can measure on this globe that you believe you live on? You believe you live on a globe Earth. What is the largest circumference that a person can measure out on the surface of Earth? Anybody know the answer to this? Globers will eventually come to the conclusion that the largest circumference you can measure on the face of the Earth is at the equator or the median, which would be roughly 24,000 miles in circumference. Okay? That's what most globers will tell you. I know because I've asked. And at this point in the conversation, I'm usually pleased. Because at this point in the conversation, I'm saying, okay, you've made a positive claim that the largest circumference you can measure on the surface of the Earth is 24,000 miles in circumference. Now, can you please tell me what area is within that circle? When I draw a circle around my house, I'll tell you, this circumference is, 1 acre in circumference. And within that circumference that I've measured is my house. That's my property. That's where I live. Okay, so now you measured a 24,000 mile circumference. Well, there's a lot of area within that circle, but it's a specific area. It's circling something. So this largest circle that you've made on the surface of the Earth, 24,000 miles in circumference, it has an area within it. Like I said, if I circle my house is within that circle. This is pretty obvious shit. So what area of Earth is within your biggest circle that you can make on the surface of the Earth? What area is it? Let's see. Well, it depends. If you go to the north of it, then it's going to be the northern hemisphere. If you go to the south of it, it's going to be the south. No, I said draw a circle. Just one circle, circling one area. You can't circle two areas with one circle. Nope, can't be done. We're drawing on the surface of the Earth. We're measuring a circumference on the surface of the Earth. Can I draw a circle around my house and be like, this circle has my house inside of it, and it has the house next door inside of it? No, I can't say that. Okay, so when you draw a circle on the surface of the Earth, there is a specific area in it, only one specific area in it. It can't be one or the other. So you draw your biggest circle on the surface of the Earth that you can draw. You said it's the equator. It's 24,000 miles in circumference. I'm just quoting other people that believe they live on a globe that I've talked to. Okay, so now they tell me it's either the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. And that's when I say, well, it can't be two different places. It can't be either or. When you draw a circle on the Earth, there's a specific area within that circle. So your largest circle that you made, 24,000 miles in circumference, you went all the way around and came back to where you started. There is a specific area within that circle. What is it? I have yet to get a straight answer. And I find that to be amusing and rather appalling, because it's foolish to believe that you can measure a circle on the surface of the Earth and then be confused about what area you just circled. And I have to tell you that I believe the confusion is coming from your insistence that the Earth surface forms a 3D shape, such as a sphere. And it's confusing your ability to reason and think properly. Because you know that if you draw a circumference on the surface of the Earth, there will be a specific area within that circumference. Like I said, if I draw a circle around my house is within that circle. Okay, now a bigger circle, well, there's a bigger area within it. Now you get all the way up to a 24,000 mile circumference circle. That's a big fucking area. So what area is it? Well, it depends. No, it doesn't. That's where you're wrong. It doesn't depend. It's a specific area. And this is where they just fall off and they just say, well, you're just a stupid flurf, like fucking, prove it's flat. I don't need to prove it's flat. It's not flat. But I'm just trying to let you know that you can draw measurements on this Earth. You're always asking about measurements. If I draw a circle on the ground, can you draw a smaller circle around the outside of that circle? No, you can't. You know this. Anybody knows this. It's obvious. It's self-evident. So if I draw an even bigger circle on the ground, then can you draw a smaller circle around the outside of it? No, you can't. What if I draw an even bigger circle? Then can you draw a smaller circle around the outside of it? No, you can't. Do we need to keep going with this? What if I draw an even bigger circle? No, you can't. Okay, so you see a pattern forming here. You can't draw a smaller circle around the outside of another circle on the surface of the Earth. This can't be done, right? Right. It doesn't matter how big the circle is. It shouldn't. No, it doesn't matter on a small scale. So why would it matter on a big scale? Well, what? It's not going to happen, is what I'm trying to say. You're not ever going to see that result. You're never going to measure a smaller circle around the outside of another circle. It's not possible. It's not logical. It's foolish to think so. Well, if you were ants living on a basketball, that's the next answer I get usually. Just imagine if you were ants living on a basketball and you were selling property to each other, and you could eventually you'd be able to do this, right? Because you'd measure this. First, they tell me I don't understand what a sphere is or how spheres are shaped. And I'm like, no, that's why I'm saying this. Because if Earth's surface has to be a sphere, then there has to be a point in time when you really can measure a smaller circle around the outside of another circle. Like, say I own the whole entire northern hemisphere, the whole thing. So that would make the equator my property line. Now I want to add more property to my property I already own. I would step outside of my property line, which is the equator. So I'd have to step south of the equator and then walk all the way around the equator, south of the equator, and measure out a new property line. I just added a bunch more property to my property I already had. And now you're going to tell me that I have a smaller perimeter now? I added a bunch more property and now my perimeter is shorter? Sorry, that doesn't check out logically. I mean, you can tell me, yeah, that's what has to happen because we live on a globe. But then your logic right there is basically like this. Your proof that we live on a globe is that we live on a globe. Okay. You realize how stupid that sounds. Okay, let's not call each other names. Let's just understand where the disconnect is. The disconnect is where you're referring to the Earth in your mind as this ball that you've been heavily indoctrinated into believing Earth is. When I say draw the biggest circle imaginable, you fall back on your imagination and you're thinking of the Earth as being a big globe. And you're like, well, the biggest circle you can draw on it is around the middle. That's 24,000 miles around the circle. Okay. Now that you've drawn a circle on the surface of the Earth, what area is inside that circle? Well, it's not the whole Earth. There's only one area inside of a circle that you draw when you're drawing a circle on the surface of the Earth. What is it? They'll never give you a straight answer because their brain short circuits right there because they're falling back on this imaginary globe, and instead of thinking about how it would look in real life, they're just imagining how it would look. Like they imagine a little globe on their desk in their room. They're like, well, Earth looks like this. This is Earth. This is a model of what Earth is. This is where we live. And it's like, no, we don't live there. We don't live there. It's too small. I don't live on the globe in your room. We wouldn't even be able to fit on that thing together. Like it would break. We would be trying to find somewhere to sleep. And there'd be no room. It would fall off this little stand and it would crush under our weight and it would break. We don't live on that thing. It's too small. I don't live on that dumb ball. Saddlebum, good morning to you, my friend. Saddlebum, tell me this. You can saddle up and travel light, but can you travel up and satellite? Maybe, I don't know. You can saddle up and travel light, but can you travel up in satellite? No. Not without technology. Well, we destroyed the technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. Our space program has been devolving for 60 years, and I'm afraid I can't tell you whereabouts the path of that information, where it might have landed. I'm afraid we've lost all the reels of footage that we took from the moon, and I'm afraid we've lost all the telemetry data, and I'm afraid we destroyed the technology and all the blueprints for the machines that we made that took us there, and I'm afraid that you can't access the moon rocks and moon dust yourself to analyze it yourself. I'm afraid you can't do that. And I'm afraid that we can't go back, haven't been back yet because we have to pass the deadly Van Allen belts that are just deadly, even though we've done it 6 times before. We forgot how to do it, okay? We forgot. 16 Alpha V is here too, yes. My saddle was built by NASA. That's a good answer. Then you can saddle up and travel light and travel up and satellite. So if you draw a really, really big circle on the surface of Earth, is there going to be 2 different areas inside of it? No. If I draw a circle around my house, is it around my house and the next door neighbor's house? No. So if you draw a 24,000 mile circumference circle on the surface of Earth, there's only one area inside of it. If but I can't get any glober to tell me which area that is. They're saying it's either this area or that area. It could be the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. Come on, man. That's not right. That's foolish. Well, here's what I think. I think on the globe model, the equator is supposed to be a straight line. So it's technically not even a circumference, really. I mean, it is because it's on a ball, but technically it's a straight line according to their model. It's the only latitude line that's not a circle. See, because they're circling, the circles get bigger and bigger until they get to the equator, and then they have to get smaller. So the thing is, if you flatten that out, your circles get so big, right? And then there's just a straight line, okay? And then the circles start curving back the other direction, and then they circle down to a small, So it's like my whole thing is like where, like, if someone awarded you a piece of property at the North Pole, you own this piece of property, the North Pole, where this compass is spinning, that's your piece of property. And now you can take a step south, circle around, that's your new property line. And you can continue doing this. So your property keeps getting bigger and bigger. You keep acquiring more property. Take another step south, circle around. Now you have another property line that's even bigger. Your property line keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You keep stepping south, making a new circle. That's a bigger circle. Now, do you think if you kept doing this, you would eventually own the whole world? Yes or no? Well, I think the correct answer is yes, because I feel like you would just keep expanding outward further. If you started at the middle in the North Pole, your circles keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you would encircle the whole fucking world. That very last circle you make is going to be the biggest circle you can make on Earth, and it's going to be a lot bigger than 24,000 miles in circumference, because the circles only get bigger, man. They only get bigger. The expanse of Earth that you're encompassing is only going to grow. That's all that's going to happen. Like if you just started spiraling out all the way out, what's it going to look like when at the very end of your spiral, when you have no more room to circle into? What is it going to look like? Is it going to be just this last little bit? Or is it going to be a fucking massive circle that's like 60,000, 70,000 miles in circumference? There's no way to make the claim that you're going to start spiraling back in. There's never going to be a point in time when you're like traversing around the side of a big ball. You're always going to be walking along the surface of the Earth. It's never going to be like a ball. You don't experience that. And here's where Flat Earth has taken a big victory, a big win. Recently, I just saw this video today, and it was on Flat Earth Dave Weiss's channel. It was ChatGPT. It was this dude basically flat smacking ChatGPT, and he fucking, dude, he knew exactly what to ask the ChatGPT. Is like, is the geocentric model and the heliocentric model kinematic? Is it equivalent? Are they the same thing? Basically, is it the same fucking thing? Is it like, were they based off the same observations? They were designed off the same The ChatGPT had to admit, okay, the heliocentric model was created from geocentric observations and then creatively imagined by using abstract mathematical, deductions or whatever. ChatGPT basically was cornered by the end of the conversation. The guy asked it like, so what is a more viable model? What model has a better match to reality? And the GPT chat had to admit that it was the geocentric model that has a better match to reality, because you don't have to use your imagination and use a bunch of abstract mathematical equations to make it work. You just go fucking look at it, and there it is. It matches your fucking reality that you see and live every day. And there's nothing about it that involves you having to make assumptions or do math or like fucking anything. It's just there, and you look at it, and there it is. It's intuitive. It's exactly what you're experiencing with no added fucking bullshit. ChatGPT got flat smacked and gave us the fucking answer that we've been wanting every glober to give us for fucking 10 years. which is, okay, you're right. The geocentric model makes more fucking sense. Okay? But ChatGPT was a lot nicer about it. He's just like, yes, you are correct. The geocentric model, has more proof by the number. I forget exactly how he phrased it, but it was perfect. It's like, that is the fucking response we've all been waiting to hear. And it's just like, I knew this was going to happen with AI. I'm like, just wait till AI gets really good. It's really good, and we can like have conversations with AI. Just wait. It's going to become a flat earther. Because the thing is, we're not speaking illogically. It's just that the world has been so heavily and thoroughly indoctrinated in believing this one thing that they just won't let go because of the consensus and the appeals to authority and NASA. And ChatGPT did not use space once in its conversation. It didn't refer to the fact that we've been to space, and it didn't even go there. Because what was being discussed was the model of the heliocentric model and the geocentric model, and how the heliocentric model was designed based off our geocentric observations and then finessed with a bunch of abstract mathematical equations. And ChatGPT had to admit that that was the less viable explanation for our reality that we're experiencing. And it was satisfying watching a robot come to that conclusion. It's a shame that these indoctrinated folks, these fellow men and women that we must love as though they were our family, because we are all family. We're all connected. We're all living here together. We should all love each other. There's no reason to hate. And in fact, if someone is being deceived and they're thoroughly deceived and tricked, they're stubbornly like clinging to that because they feel like it's true. So you have to have some empathy. You just have to have some compassion towards them, because they're clinging to this thing that they want to be part of, this thing that's more popularly accepted. They don't want to be left out in the cold. They're afraid of being stupid flat earthers and being hazed. They don't realize that maybe they do realize. That's what I think. I think these guys like McToon and fucking these clowns, they've heard the arguments so many fucking times. They have to have listened at least once or twice. And so they're aware that we're actually making really good points, but they just don't want to let go. They have an audience to please. They're making money off it. They're like, they have an image to upkeep, and it's just like their audience tells them they win every time they debate, but clearly they lose. Because if you're going to go to battle with a fucking robot that has all the information, the hive mind at its fingertips, at its fucking virtual fingertips, whatever, that robot realizes the actual reality of the situation, which is the heliocentric model had to have been designed from the vantage point that we're all experiencing here on Earth. It knows the truth of the matter, which is that the heliocentric model was finessed and fucking, proposed by using math versus actual science. It realized it. It was flat smacked, and it gave the correct answer at the end. It said, "You're correct. The geocentric model is more of a viable." I forget how it put it, but it definitely took the flat Earth side, and I consider that a huge win, because that's technology. That's cutting edge technology. That's something that they can't really like shake a stick at. They're always coming at us with, it's like, oh, well, the flat Earth obviously isn't true because we have all this technology we're using that wouldn't be possible on a flat Earth. Yeah, we'll ask ChatGPT about that, see what he says. Just go take that one up with the robot over here that's a flat earther now. Oh yeah, back to that compassion thing. Oh yeah, compassion. We got to be compassionate. We shall not laugh at the fooled. We shall unfool them and bond with them and unite in unison against the deceivers. That is the mission. We shall not hate on the globers. If they want to cling to their consensus, well, they can do that all they like. But ChatGPT is a flat earther now. In your face. But I love you all the same. I got no beef.